Hello, this is State Representative Rob Martwick, and I'm coming to you once again. I know it's been a lot lately. I try to do this in conjunction with when there are issues that are important, so I'm not bothering you with a lot of nonsense. And of course, I'm coming to you with my third installment on property taxes because there are a lot of questions. A lot of people, especially here on the northwest side of the city of Chicago, have received large assessment increases. And there have been a lot of talk about it, a lot of questions. And so today in Volume 3, and I promise there will be a Volume 4, where I address what can be done about it, how there is a fix. And good news, there is a fix. Of course, in government, nothing is easy. We have challenges to get over things, not the least of which is sort of the nonsense that's out there. But I'm going to talk about the facts as I always do. But today we're going to talk about why, right? I mean, that's the key here. Everyone, when I go out, asks me, what happened? Why did assessments go up so much? And, that's an important question. Like I said, people got a lot of what we call sticker shock up here where they see their assessments going up. And so I'm going to talk about why. I'm not going to talk too much about the fix today because otherwise these videos just go on too long. So look for Volume 4. That will be the last one about property taxes, and we'll talk about that. But I do want to start out with one quick message. Remember, and I'm going to say this now, and I'm going to say it at the end of the video, and I'll probably say it on Volume 4 too. With property tax assessments, we have the ability to appeal that assessment if we think it's incorrect. So I encourage you to find a way to appeal your assessment if you think it's incorrect. The easiest way to do that is attend an outreach seminar. Both the Cook County Assessor and the Cook County Board of Review hold these. They hold them in conjunction of when their filing dates are. So right now, the notice that you received from the Cook County Assessor, he is accepting appeals, and he is doing outreach seminars, okay? And a good news, a little plug here, we have scheduled one for August 15th at 6 p.m. at the Copernicus Center. Details will be in this video, so look, in the notes or whatever comments, you will find details about that seminar. There is a whole host of other seminars if you live on the northwest side in Jefferson Township, so find one that works with your schedule. There's a bunch of them. Get to one. Make sure you appeal your taxes. But look for ours at the Copernicus Center, August 15th at 6 p.m. All right, next, as I do with these videos, I like to start with a little bit of good news. And lately, it's not just my good news. It's actually news, okay? So recently, over the weekend, there were a couple of big stories. WGN News TV reported about it. The Chicago Tribune wrote about it. And they wrote about the fact that $19 million of property tax refunds are being sent to 53,000 homeowners. So let that settle in for a second. $19 million of tax refunds being sent to 53,000 homeowners. And hundreds of thousands more are getting reductions in their bills. Why? Well, you heard me talk about it, but I'm going to keep talking about it because I did it and it's a good thing. And I'm proud of it, right? And that was we increased homeowners exemptions, all right? So what we did was, and you heard me talk about this before, we increased homeowners exemptions, we increased senior citizen exemptions, and we expanded the eligibility for the senior freeze. This gives real property tax relief, not nonsense, not fake promises, not stuff that'll never be delivered. You're getting it right now. And this was a bill that I passed. I'm very proud of it. There were a lot of people who supported me. I told you in that last video. But it was not easy work because I had to go to a lot of people, both sides of the aisle, bipartisan, convince them to vote for something that didn't necessarily help their areas. This is for Cook County. And I'm proud to say I was able to do that. But there's another good part of this that we didn't talk about. And in the Tribune series on property tax assessments in Cook County, they talked about how the property tax system was regressive, meaning that we were unfairly putting a burden on middle class and working class and poor, and upper class and wealthy they weren't paying their fair share. It was an unfair system. There were dozens of articles by the Chicago Tribune pointing this out. But what this does is this makes the system less regressive. That's what homeowners exemptions do. Why do I say this? And this is just the homeowners exemption. Remember, if we're talking senior and senior freeze, these numbers can even be dramatic. But because the homeowners exemption and these other exemptions translate into a flat dollar amount of relief, And as was reported by the Chicago Tribune, it's about $224 if you live in the city of Chicago. And if you're in the suburbs, because your tax rates are typically higher, it's about $300 of relief per year, right? Well, if you live in a $250,000 home on the northwest side of the city of Chicago, that's a 5% decrease in the amount of your tax bill. Your tax bill is lowered by 5%. Not insignificant. If you live in a $500,000 home, that's a 2.5% decrease in your tax bill. And if you live in a $5 million home in Lincoln Park, that is a 0.25%, a 0.25% decrease in your tax bill. So what it does is it is shifting the burden back. It is addressing exactly what the Chicago Tribune and ProPublica pointed out. In an unfair tax system, it's making it more fair. It's taking the burden off working class and middle class people who own properties, and that is a good thing. So I'm very proud of that. That's my good news. I was glad to see the major news outlets pick it up, even if they didn't name the guy who passed the bill. But that is good news. So next, and this is what we're here for. Let's talk about why, right? Why did property taxes go up so much? And I think that this is important. Remember, we have an ad valorem tax system, right? Which means that your taxes are based upon the value of your home. Now, is that the fairest system there is? I would argue that it is, even though it's not perfect, right? And there is a real inherent problem with that, because if you invest in a home, and that home's value can go up far faster than your income can go up, and that's where things can put a squeeze on you, right? Here on the Northwest Side, it's wonderful. If you invested in this community a few short years ago, and you found a home at a reasonable price, well, those home values up here are going up like crazy, and that's fantastic. If you made that investment, you've earned equity, but you're paying taxes at an increased rate even though your income didn't go up, and that is a problem. Is there a way to address that? And there is, and I'll talk about that in the next video. But that's why this thing has such sticker shock. Imagine if you invested in Logan Square. I mean, that area has gone up, and this is actually to a good friend of mine who's a big education activist, and he was screaming about, why is my property tax value up so high? Well, because it's up so high. That investment you made in your home, well, you're worth a lot more because of that. But it is unfair that it's hard for you to pay. So I hear you, I get it, we got to work on that. But that's what happened here, right? We saw a value correction. Again, we don't have to go very far. Just pull up unfair property taxes in Cook County, and you will see these dozens of stories that the Trib wrote. There were University of Chicago professors who said, look, the process that's going on in the assessments in Cook County is unfair because as the values are going up in certain neighborhoods, the assessment is not going up the same. And when that happens, property tax is a balloon. If you don't get everyone fairly, then what you do is you push the burden, right? Because if the value doesn't go up, then the rate has to go up to account for that. And what that did was that put a higher rate on poorer people, middle class people, working class people, and they couldn't afford, they were being taxed higher than their fair share. So what we see now is we see areas where there was large increase in values, we see the assessments go up by a lot. This is what happened. It was a value correction. Now, is it right? Not necessarily, right? There is 1.3 million parcels of property in Cook County, and about 170 people work in the assessor's office. So there's a good chance that they got it wrong. If they relied more on their computer modeling, as the Trib suggested that they do, well, computers get it wrong, right? So if you are overassessed, please appeal. Come to that appeal workshop, and hopefully we can find some relief for you. But let me give you a couple examples of what happened. So first, on this Saturday, I was out doing what a lot of people realize I do. I was out handing out snow cones to kids at block parties. Well, let me be fair. I've been doing that for 6 years. Every Saturday of my summer, we go to dozens of block parties and hand out snow cones to kids. But that's not what I do. That's what my volunteers from the neighborhood that come and help me out, they do. They come and they help me do outreach. While they're handing the snow cones out to the kids, I walk the blocks and I talk to residents, constituents, homeowners to ask them what's going on, what kind of questions can I ask for you. And as you can imagine, the number one question I'm getting is what happened. So at just this last Saturday, I was at a block party right down the street from here. And a homeowner asked me, actually he was a visitor, but he was from Edison Park, so the next district over. And he asked me, what happened? He said, my assessment went up by $100,000. And I explained this to him. I said, look, I don't know, maybe the assessor was kind of looking at these things and saying, let me take the sting off some of these big increases and I'll hold people down a little bit. And now he's saying, well, if that's wrong, I'll just let things go up to their actual value, and that might equate to a big value increase. And I told him, I said, you ought to appeal. And what he said to me was, you know, if I look at it, I'm probably still assessed at less than what I would actually sell the home for, even though I got a $100,000 increase. Again, is that everyone? No, this is just an example. Let me give you another example. There was a constituent of mine who messaged me and said, look, I went up by 49%, and that is crazy. And so I took a look at that person's block. I looked at 9 homes on the same block, okay? And there were 9 homes that all fit in the same classification, which means they should all be assessed somewhat uniformly, right? They should all be assessed similarly because they're the same class of home on the same block, which means the same neighborhood. And what I saw was there were 7 homes on that block that received a 26 to 39% increase, which is big, right? No doubt. But the kicker here is that one person who messaged me did get the biggest increase in the block, 49%. 49% increase, right? There was one other person on the block who got a 48% increase, but that was the biggest. And you say, wow. And my first initial reaction was, this person should definitely appeal. Because when you see this, you say, well, you got the biggest increase. Likely you're the one who got over-assessed, or assessed the highest, right? But then here's the thing. I broke it down, and I looked at each one of these homes, right? The 9 homes. I know I'm only talking about 8 here. And when I did that, what I found was, when you look at the assessments, the assessor assesses on a value per square foot. Well, these 7 homes that went up 26 to 39% had values of $18 to $22 per square foot, right? So that's how you figure out value, is per square foot. So these homes that received the smaller increase were valued at $18 to $22 per square foot. The home that got the 49% increase, $17.50 per square foot. What does that mean? That means they are assessed the lowest on the block. Highest increase, but still the lowest on the block. And when you go to appeal, you're going to appeal using comparable properties, and you're going to say, I'm not uniform, but even though you got the biggest increase, you're still the lowest on the block. You're not only uniform, these other people can use your value to appeal their homes, right? And again, this isn't everybody. This doesn't mean it's you. You very well might be the person that's unfairly assessed, and you should appeal. But these are 2 examples of what happened. So how did this person go up 49% and still be the lowest value on the block? Well, my guess is that over the course of the last 3 years, and maybe the 3 years prior than that, and very well maybe the 3 years prior than that, they were very underassessed. And when people said, look, we've got to get this thing assessed fairly so that we're all paying our fair share, so that the people, we're not pushing the burden onto people that can't afford it, this is what fairness looks like. When everybody is assessed in the same range, it's fair. If you got the biggest increase and you're still the lowest person on the block, you know, you might have a case. The value, your overall value, might be too high, right? So you got to say to yourself, did the assessor assess me at 500? I'm only worth 300. Well, then this is all wrong, right? And it needs to be corrected. But that's what happened. Values went up, and my guess is, because I don't know, I don't work there, is that these things are sort of a correction to address the problem that was pointed out by the Chicago Tribune and ProPublica about unfair assessments. This makes things fairer, right? We don't like it. It's not good. But again, that takes us back to the problem, right? The problem is that when you get a large value increase, there is a good chance that your income did not match that. We need to fix that, right? And there is a solution. And when your value goes up, because we put so much on property taxes in the state, that your tax bill is going to go up substantially higher than what your income can afford. And that's not right. We need to fix it. And I've got some solutions for that I will talk about in Volume 4, which will be in just a few days. So please make sure you look for that. In the meantime, look on this link. Find one of those appeal seminars, attend them. If you can't make one, find a way to do it online. You can drop off documents here at my office at 5618 West Montrose, my new office address. Call ahead of time. Make sure Judy's here to accept your appeal. We'll take them downtown for you and make sure they get filed. But try to find a way to do this. If you can't, try to do it online. If you can't do it online and you must do something and you really feel you're underassessed, certainly feel free to look out for an attorney, but I would use that as a last resort because there is many ways to do this without going to that step. So that's it for now. A little bit of good news. You know, the exemptions, again, people are talking about it because it was a good thing. A little bit of information about why property taxes went up, value corrections, and then finally, we will talk about how we can solve this problem, and we will if we work together in a bipartisan fashion. As I've always tried to do, there are solutions to this problem. So thank you all for watching. Have a great day, and if you have, as always, if you have comments, concerns, questions, criticisms, please leave them here. I'll be happy to respond. Another bit of good news, Facebook ranked me as one of the top responding representatives, meaning I respond more to people who ask me questions on Facebook than 95% of this people who hold a similar position. I'm very proud of that. I got that notification the other day, and that makes me happy because I try to be responsive to people and I try and explain things to them. I got a lot of positive feedback from it this weekend at the block parties. Happy to hear it. I'm glad that people like these videos. As long as you keep watching, I'll keep them coming. So thank you very much, and until then, have a wonderful rest of your day.